I never thought revenge could taste like wedding cake, sweet on the tongue, but laced with arsenic that burns all the way down. My sister-in-law, Emily, stole my life piece by piece, starting with the man I loved, then the dream I built, and finally, the identity I bled for. But when she copied my wedding down to the last silk napkin, she overlooked the one thread I still held, the body that wasn't hers anymore. The rain hammered the penthouse windows like it was trying to break in, mirroring the storm raging inside me. It was June 15th, 2023, the day Emily Harrington, my husband's younger sister, the golden child of the Harrington dynasty, announced her engagement to Jake. My Jake. The man who'd whispered vows to me under the same goddamn oak tree in Central Park just 6 months earlier. I'd spent years planning that wedding in my head, sketching dresses in the margins of my law firm notebooks while climbing the ladder at one of Manhattan's cutthroat firms. Jake and I were the power couple on paper, me, the rising star prosecutor with a guilty conscience, him, the tech whiz kid who just IPO'd his AI startup for 9 figures. Our life was scripted for Instagram perfection until Emily rewrote the ending. I remember the exact moment the betrayal crystallized. It was a family dinner at the Harringtons' Upper East Side brownstone, the kind where crystal clinked like false teeth and conversations hid knives. Emily, with her razor-sharp bob and eyes like polished obsidian, slid into the seat next to Jake, her hand lingering on his arm a beat too long. "Sophie," she purred, her voice all honeyed southern drawl she'd faked since moving to New York from Atlanta. "You must tell me everything about your wedding. I mean, if Jake and I are doing this right." Jake shifted uncomfortably, but his eyes, those hazel eyes I'd memorized, darted away. Betrayal number 1. He'd been sleeping with her for months, confiding in her about my workaholic ways while I was buried in cases, fighting for justice in a system that chewed up women like me. But that was just the appetizer. The main course came 2 weeks later, when the police showed up at my office door. "Sophie Langford, you're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud." The words hit like a sucker punch. Me? I'd been the one uncovering corporate scams, the prosecutor who'd taken down a Wall Street wolf for siphoning millions from pension funds. But the evidence was ironclad: forged signatures on my firm's accounts, wire transfers to offshore shells traced back to my IP address. I knew instantly it was Emily. She'd hacked Jake's AI algorithms, twisted them into a digital ghost that pinned it all on me. Why? Because in the Harrington world, she was the spare heir, always in my shadow. Marrying Jake wasn't enough. She needed me erased. The trial was a circus. Tabloids screamed, "Prosecutor turned thief, the fall of Sophie Langford." Jake testified against me, his voice cracking as he reluctantly detailed how I'd grown distant, how the money disappeared under my watch. Emily sat in the front row, the picture of sympathy, her hand on his knee. I took the plea deal, 5 years in Bedford Hills, upstate New York, the women's prison that looked like a forgotten college campus but smelled like despair. As the gavel fell, I locked eyes with Emily across the courtroom. She smiled, a razor-thin curve of lips that said, "Your life is mine now." Prison was where the real darkness settled in. Days blurred into gray routines, chow hall slop, rec yard whispers, nights staring at the bunk above me, replaying every misstep. I'd covered for Emily once, long ago, back in law school, when she got caught plagiarizing a paper. I rewrote it for her, took the heat when the prof sniffed around. That was our sisterly bond, or so Mom had called it before cancer took her. But this was no mistake, it was surgical. Hidden in my visitor logs was the secret she buried deepest. Emily had been the one skimming from the family trust, not me. She'd framed me to cover her tracks, using Jake's tech to launder it through my cases. I suffered for her crime, my career in ashes, while she played victim. Parole came after 3 years. On a technicality, overcrowding, they said. I emerged into the July heat of 2026 a ghost of Sophie Langford, gaunt, tattooed with regrets, my once lustrous hair cropped short from the stress. Jake had filed for divorce from behind bars, citing irreconcilable differences. Emily? She'd moved into her penthouse overlooking the Hudson. Her engagement photos splashed across Vogue like confetti. And the wedding? God. The wedding. She'd copied it verbatim. The venue, the Plaza Hotel's Grand Ballroom, where Jake and I had booked our date before everything imploded. The dress, a custom Vera Wang with off-the-shoulder lace and a train that whispered like secrets mine, sketched in my journal she'd borrowed during a girls' weekend. Even the florals, peonies and eucalyptus in vintage silver vases, were lifted from my Pinterest boards, which she'd screenshotted and passed off as inspiration. I saw the invites first, slipped under my halfway house door like a taunt from fate. Emily Harrington and Jacob Langford request the pleasure. My stomach twisted. She was marrying him in 2 months, on what would have been our first anniversary. Every detail screamed mine, a mockery etched in embossed gold. But she forgot one critical element, the guest list's gatekeeper. In my old life, I'd controlled the vendors, the RSVPs, the subtle power plays that kept Manhattan's elite in line. From the shadows of my new existence, scraping by as a legal aide in a dingy Queen's office, I started pulling strings. Anonymous tips to the florist about allergic reactions, whispers to the caterer of health code violations. Petty? Sure. But it was the appetizer to the feast I craved. That's when I met Dr. Elias Crow. He was a ghost in the system, a disgraced neuroscientist who'd lost his license after a botched experiment at Columbia. I stumbled into him at a support group for wrongful convictions, ironic, since mine wasn't overturned. Just endured. Elias had wild silver hair and eyes like fractured glass, always muttering about neural transference and echoes of the soul. Over stale coffee in a church basement, he confessed his obsession, a prototype device, codenamed Echo, born from black market DARPA tech. It didn't just map brains, it swapped them. Imagine, he rasped, walking in another's skin, feeling their pulse as your own. Revenge without fingerprints. I laughed at first, delusions of a madman. But desperation has a way of rewriting sanity. Emily's wedding loomed like a guillotine, her social media a parade of fittings and tastings, Jake's arm around her waist in photos that knifed my heart. One night, chain-smoking on my fire escape, I texted Elias, "Show me." He did. In a derelict warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn, where rusted beams dripped condensation like tears. The machine was a Frankenstein's wet dream, coils of fiber optics pulsing blue. A pair of ergonomic chairs facing each other, like thrones of judgment. It's unstable, he warned. But for volunteers, lab rats. Mostly it works. Temporarily. Hours, days if you're lucky. No turning back if the sync fails. Volunteers. The word hung heavy. Elias had tested it on the fringes. Addicts trading bodies for a hit. Lovers playing at eternity. One story chilled me. A man who swapped with his abuser, only to feel the memories bleed through, driving him to suicide. But Emily? She'd taken my body politic, my social flesh, and worn it like a trophy. What if I could slip into hers? Just for the wedding? Walk down the aisle in her skin, whisper poisons in Jake's ear, unravel the empire from within. It was insane, unethical, a violation of every oath I'd sworn as a lawyer. Controversial? Hell, it was apocalypse in a lab coat. But as the rain lashed the warehouse windows, I nodded. Hook me up. The swap happened at midnight, under the flicker of sodium lights. Elias strapped me in, for lines snaking into my veins like veins of fate. Focus on her face, he murmured, projecting Emily's latest Instagram reel onto a screen, her laughing at a brunch, toasting with mimosas. The hum built to a scream, my vision fracturing into pixels, then darkness. When I woke, it wasn't my body slumped in the chair opposite. It was hers. Lithe, perfumed with Chanel No. 5. Fingers tipped in French manicure that felt alien on her skin. I flexed, and silk sheets rustled. I was in her bed, Jake snoring beside me. Panic surged, but so did power. Emily's memories flickered at the edges, her guilt-laced dreams. The thrill of the frame job. The safe code to the family vault. I had her keys now, literal and otherwise. Touching my old body, vacant and trembling across the room, was surreal. It stared back with my eyes, but empty. A shell waiting for Emily's consciousness to reboot. Elias explained later. The swap was a loop, her mind tumbling into mine while I inhabited hers. She'd wake disoriented, piecing together the blackout as stress from wedding prep. But I had 48 hours. Enough to crash the party. The first day in Emily's skin was a masterclass in mimicry. I slipped into her routine, yoga in the penthouse gym, where mirrors threw back her flawless reflection, cheat code to every door in the Harrington Empire. Jake stirred, pulling me close with a sleepy grin. Morning.
Eminência.
You okay? You look different. His touch ignited rage. But I played the part, murmuring endearments while mentally cataloging his vulnerabilities, the affair guilt, the startup's hidden debts. Breakfast was avocado toast, and the New York Times, where I spotted my own byline ghost, a legal op-ed I'd written pre-prison, now cited in a scandal piece. Emily had buried that too. By noon, I was at Bergdorf's, trying on the dress. The saleswoman cooed over the fit, oblivious that the real Emily would have demanded a size down. In the dressing room, lace clinging like a second skin, I traced the seams, my design, now hers. Tears pricked, but I swallowed them. This wasn't grief, it was gasoline. Back home, I rifled her laptop, folders labeled Sophie_takedown, spreadsheets of laundered funds totaling $4.2 million. The secret she'd chiseled into my life. She'd done it for Daddy's approval. The Harrington patriarch who'd always favored my scrappy rise over her entitled one. Betrayal layered on betrayal. A family rot that festered in marble halls. That night, as Jake fucked me, her body arching under his, foreign and electric, I plotted. The wedding was the stage, but the twist would be the script. Emily controlled nothing anymore. I held the reins. Invisible. Sleep came fitful. Her memories invading. Childhood taunts. Mom's funeral where I'd held her while she sobbed crocodile tears. Dawn broke with a text from Elias. Sink holding. Get out before the loop snaps. But I was in too deep. The high of possession addictive as any drug. The 48 hours blurred into a fever dream of Emily's life. Each moment a thread I tugged to unravel her tapestry. By day 2, I'd infiltrated the wedding planning like a virus, subtly, lethally. The plaza's event coordinator, a harried woman named Carla with a Bronx accent thick as fog, met me in the empty ballroom. Mrs. Langford to be. The florist delayed, something about contaminated peonies. I feigned distress, Emily's voice pitching high just so.
Oh, God.
Jake will kill me. Fix it.
Carla.
Use the backup for my sister's old board. My board. The irony burned sweeter than bourbon. While she scrambled, I slipped into the service entrance, where crates of champagne waited. One call to an old informant from my prosecutor days, a shady liquor rep with a grudge against high rollers, and the bottles were swapped for fakes, laced with just enough ipecac to turn the toast into a Technicolor yawn.
Non-lethal.
Deniable, but humiliating. Controversial? In the gray world of Manhattan vendettas. It was Tuesday. As I watched the staff unload, Emily's phone buzzed, a reminder for her final dress fitting. I deleted it. Let her show up in off-the-rack panic. Jake was the wild card. Lunch at Le Bernardin. His treat, seared scallops and small talk about our future. He leaned in, breath minty, with Colgate confidence. You've been off lately. Like, distant. Is it the wedding jitters? I traced his hand with her manicured nail, channeling Emily's flirt. Maybe it's you. Handsome. Ever think you're still hung up on her? The word hung. A grenade pin pulled. His fork paused midair, face paling. Sophie? That's ancient history.
She was.
Troubled. Troubled. The word clawed at me, but I smiled. Venom sweet. Tell me more. What really happened with the money? He deflected. Of course. Launching into startup woes, the AI glitches, venture capital drying up. But I saw the crack, desperation in his eyes. The same look he'd had when he betrayed me for her stability. Emily's memories supplied the ammo. Jake's gambling debts, funneled through her hacks. I filed it away, sipping Chardonnay like it was absolution. Afternoon brought the bachelorette, a yacht cruise on the East River, courtesy of her sorority sisters from Vanderbilt. I boarded in a slinky red number, giggling at champagne flutes while they toasted, the bride who stole the show. One, a tipsy redhead named Tessa, pulled me aside. Spill. How'd you land, Jake? After Sophie went. You know. Cuckoo. Cuckoo. The slur landed like spit. Emily's life was a house of mirrors, reflecting back the lies she'd spun. Me as the villain, unraveling under pressure. I clinked glasses, voice laced with faux innocence.
Oh.
Tess. Jake saw through her. The prison stories? Just the tip. She confessed things to me, dark stuff. Family secrets. Whispers spread like perfume. Doubts seeding among the guests. By sunset, as the skyline bled orange, I felt the first tremor, the swap's edge fraying. A phantom itch where my real fingers should be. Elias's warning echoed. The body rejects foreign souls. Back at the penthouse, I confronted the mirror. Emily's face staring back accusatory. Bruises bloomed under her eyes. My sabotage at work?
No.
The loop straining. Jake was out schmoozing investors, leaving me to prowl her closet. Shoeboxes of cash, labeled SL. Insurance. The frame job's payoff. Rage boiled. but so did opportunity. I drafted an email from her account to the family lawyer, wire the trust remainder to offshore. Urgent. Wedding costs. $1 million skimmed. Untraceable. Controversial decision number 1. Steal from the thief. As I hit send, her memories surged, a flood of guilt. Emily's voice in my head. What have you done? Soph, we're sisters.
Sisters.
The word mocked. We'd grown up polar opposites. Me, the foster kid mom adopted after her first marriage crumbled, clawing for legitimacy. Emily, the bio daughter, handed silver spoons and expectations. But mom's will had equalized us, the brownstone split, the trust shared. Emily saw it as theft. I saw it as grace. That's why she buried me, not just for the money, but to claim the pedestal. The swap let me taste her fear, the gnawing doubt that she'd never measure up. It humanized her, just enough to make the revenge ache. Night fell heavy, the city humming below like a beast. I slipped out, hailing a cab to Red Hook. Elias waited in the warehouse, shadows carving his face into gargoyle lines. You're late, he growled, checking vitals on a battered tablet. Her pulse raced at 110. The sink's at 60%. Push it, and you fry both brains. I paced, heels clicking on concrete. One more day. The wedding's tomorrow. He laughed, bitter as black coffee. You're playing God, Sophie. Echo wasn't built for vendettas. It was for healing. War vets walking again. Coma patients waking in borrowed bodies. Healing. The irony twisted. My crime? Suffering for hers.
Now.
I'd heal by breaking. He relented, injecting a stabilizer, some off-book cocktail that tasted like battery acid. Back in Emily's skin.
Fortified.
I returned to the penthouse. Jake was waiting. Tie loosened. Scotch in hand.
Ink.
We need to talk. His voice cracked. Eyes bloodshot. The seeds I'd planted had sprouted. The investors pulled out.
And.
I got this. He slid his phone across the marble island. An anonymous email. Time-stamped from her account, Jake. Remember Sophie's lies? The money was always yours. Run while you can. My doing. From the yacht's Wi-Fi. He paced, ranting about paranoia, about how Emily had changed. I watched, detached. Her body a perfect mask. Maybe it's karma.
Jake.
For what we did to her. The words slipped out. Too raw, my voice bleeding through. He froze. What did you say? Heart hammering. I recovered. Nothing. Baby. Just jitters. But the damage was done. Doubt festered. We made love then. Mechanical and urgent. His hands on her curves feeling like violation squared. In the afterglow, he whispered, I love you.
Eminência.
But sometimes, I miss the old us.
Old us. Me.
The ghost in the machine. Dawn of the wedding day broke with sirens in the distance, city symphony. Emily's body thrummed with adrenaline, the stabilizer waning. I dressed in the Vera Wang, lace whispering promises of ruin. The makeup artist arrived, a bubbly Latina named Rosa, chattering about the perfect day. As she blended foundation over faint shadows, I caught my reflection, Emily's eyes, but my glare. The critical element she'd forgotten? The vows. In my original planning, I'd written them myself, personal, laced with inside jokes. Promises etched in blood and trust. Emily had copied the script, but not the soul. Today, I'd speak them, twisting each word into a noose. The limo idled curbside, paparazzi flashing like distant lightning. Jake waited inside, tux crisp, smile strained. "You look stunning," he said, kissing my hurt cheek. The drive to the plaza was a blur of honking taxis and tourist gawkers, Manhattan's pulse syncing with mine. Emily's memories intruded, her terror at the altar, fear of not being enough. I shoved them down, focusing on the plan. Step 1. The ceremony sabotage. I'd tipped the organist, a disgruntled ex-Harrington employee, to play the recessional early, stranding the couple mid-vows. Step 2. The reception reveal. A USB drive, loaded with the frame job files, cued to project on the ballroom screens during the first dance. Controversial? Absolutely. Exposing her in her moment would torch the Harrington name, drag innocence into the fire. But justice in America isn't blind, it's bought. And I'd been sold out. As the limo pulled up to the Gilded Arches, guests milling in Chanel and Rolexes, I stepped out Emily Harrington, bride of the hour. Cameras popped. Applause rippled. Daddy Harrington beamed from the steps, arm around his trophy wife number 3. "There's my girl," he boomed. His girl.
Not me.
The daughter by proxy he'd mentored through law school nights. Inside, the ballroom was a fever of my stolen dreams, chandeliers dripping light like diamonds, tables groaning under crab legs and caviar. Peonies wilted slightly, my doing, and the air hummed with string quartet preludes. I lingered in the bridal suite, veil veiling the storm. A knock, Tessa, bearing a flask. Liquid courage. Slut, we toasted, her arm around my waist. In her buzzed ramble, she confessed, I know about the emails." To the lawyer? Jake's freaking. The skim had hit, ripples spreading. I hugged her, whispering, "Tell him it's over." All of it. The processional swelled. I took Jake's arm at the aisle's end, his grip clammy. Faces blurred, old colleagues from the DA's office, shooting pitying glances, mom's cousins, oblivious to the rot. Elias lurked in the back row, incognito in a rented suit, his nod the only anchor. As we reached the altar, the officiant, a smug Episcopalian with a Harvard drawl, cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved."
Vows time.
Jake went first, reciting the copied lines, promises of forever, echoes of what he'd owed me. My turn. Heart pounding. Sync at 40%. I open my mouth. "Jacob, from the moment you chose me, I knew we'd rewrite the stars." The words flowed, Emily's voice a silken noose, but laced with my intent. Guests leaned in, rapt. Jake's eyes softened. Fool that he was. "You've given me everything, a home, a name, a second chance at love." Second chance. The subtext landed like shrapnel for those in the know. Daddy Harrington dabbed his eyes. Tessa smirked knowingly. I pressed on, veil trembling. But love isn't borrowed, it's earned, through fire and shadow. And in those shadows, we've hidden truths that could shatter us. A murmur rippled. Jake's brow furrowed, but the officiant nodded encouragingly. "In our union, we'll bury the past embezzlements, betrayals, the lives we stole to build this moment." Gasps now, sharp as broken glass. Jake's hand tightened on mine.
Ink.
What the hell? whispered.
but amplified by the mic.
I ignored him, eyes sweeping the crowd to Elias, who palmed a remote discreetly. For better or worse, in sickness and in theft, I vow to uncover every lie, every frame, until justice walks this aisle like a bride unmasked. The chaos erupted. Daddy Harrington shot to his feet, face thunderous. Emily, what is this madness? Guests whispered furiously. Embezzlement? Frame. Phones emerging like weapons. Jake yanked my arm, hissing, "Have you lost your mind? This is our day. Our day." The irony choked me. The organist, cue taken, blared the recessional, Pachelbel's canon twisting into dirge. No rings exchanged. No kiss, just pandemonium as I bolted down the aisle, veil trailing like surrender.
Outside.
In the plaza's opulent lobby, I ripped off the headpiece, Emily's hair tumbling wild. Paparazzi swarmed the doors, flashes blinding. Jake burst through, red-faced, grabbing my elbow. "Explain."
Now.
His breath reeked of panic sweat. I wrenched free, her body lithe and quick. "Ask your conscience."
Jake.
Or better, ask the files. Before he could retort, security herded us into a side lounge, Daddy Harrington storming in behind, his Rolex glinting like a handcuff. What the devil was that? Emily? Vows about theft. In front of the Astors and the Vanderbilts. I stood tall, channeling every courtroom poise I'd lost in prison. "It's the truth."
Dad.
The money, the trust skim, the frame on Sophie. I did it. For us. For the family legacy you always said I couldn't uphold. Lies within truths. Emily's memories fueling the fire. His face drained of color.
You. What?
Sophie was innocent. The reversal hit him like a stroke. I'd suffered for her crime. Yes. But now her confession pinned it on her. Motive. Patricidal ambition. Controversial decision, too. Let the patriarch believe his bio daughter the monster. Sparing my foster shadow. Jake paced.
Piecing it.
The emails. The investor pullout, that was you? Sabotaging us. I nodded. Tears, hers. Real, streaming. I couldn't marry into lies.
Jake.
Not when I built this on her grave. He recoiled. Horror dawning. You're not.
Ink.
You're scaring me. The sink flickered. My real voice cracked through. Good. He staggered back. Sophie. Daddy whirled. What? Sirens wailed outside. Cops. Tipped by my anonymous call to the NYPD's cyber unit. The frame job files. Uploaded to a dead man's server. Pinged alerts. Doors burst open. Detectives in cheap suits swarmed. Emily Harrington? We need to talk about wire fraud. Cuffs clicked. Cold on her wrists, my borrowed ones. As they led me out.
Jacques splash with.
Fight this. We can fix it. Fix it. The word mocked our shattered history. The squad car ride was a blur of Miranda rights and rain-smeared windows. At the precinct, under fluorescent hell, I lawyered up calling in favors from my old firm, now Emily's unwitting allies. Interrogation room, coffee like motor oil, detective with a Brooklyn jaw chewing gum. Start talking. Harrington. The files trace to your IP. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. That's federal time. I leaned in. Emily's poise a shield. It was me. But not alone. Jake knew. He coded the AI diversions. Betrayal boomeranged. His debts. His complicity, now exposed. Controversial? Framing the framer, poetic. But it dragged him under. Innocent threads fraying. Hours ticked, the sync plummeted to 20%. Elias texted from a burner. Extract now. Body rejection imminent. But I stalled, weaving a tale of coercion, Daddy's pressure, Jake's manipulation. The detective bought it. Hook. Line. By dawn. Bail was posted. Harrington lawyers descending like vultures. Released into the gray light, I cabbed to Red Hook, body screaming, migraines like lightning, limbs numb. Elias waited, echo humming ominously. Strap in, he urged. Her mind's rebounding. You'll feel it. The reversal was agony, electricity arcing, memories colliding like tectonic plates. Emily's consciousness flooded back, her confusion, her rage. I tumbled into my shell, gasping awake in the warehouse chair, my real skin clammy and scarred. Across. Emily blinked, unbound. Her eyes, now hers again, wild.
What?
Sophie? You bitch. She lunged, but Elias restrained her. Neural echo, he muttered. She remembers fragments. I staggered up, legs jelly. Welcome back, sis. Enjoy the fallout. Her glare could curdle milk.
You'll pay.
The family's ruined. Daddy's cutting me off. Jake's lawyered up for divorce. Good. The skimmed million? Frozen in investigation. Her empire.
Ash.
But as she spat curses, a twist nod, her memories lingered in me. Flashes of love for Jake. Twisted for Daddy. Desperate. Even for me. Buried under resentment. The betrayal wasn't one-sided. I'd ignore her cries for help. Too busy shining. Elias bundled her out, volunteer protocol. He called it, with a syringe of amnesia serum. She'll wake thinking it was a breakdown. Stress, wedding gone wrong. Clean. Deniable. But as the door slammed, my phone buzzed. News alert. Harrington heiress confesses in wedding meltdown. Prosecutor Sophie Langford cleared in retrial push. The files had worked. DA's office reopening my case. Evidence exculpating. Justice. 48 hours late. Weeks blurred into therapy sessions and depositions. Emily vanished to a wellness retreat in the Hamptons, code for drying out on Daddy's dime.
Jake?
He called once. Voice hollow. Sophie. It wasn't. I thought she was you. In the end. Bullshit poetry. I hung up, blocking the number. The retrial cleared me, full exoneration. Back pay. A book deal whispered by agents smelling blood. Manhattan welcomed me back. Cautious but curious, the woman who body snatched her way to vindication. But the darkness clung. Nights. Emily's echoes haunted, her fear of inadequacy. The secret she'd chiseled deeper than fraud. Mom's will? It wasn't equal. A codicil. Hidden. Emily inherited the bulk. Me the scraps, for the girl who fights. Not the one born to win. Mom's favoritism. Reversed. Emily hadn't just framed me for money. She'd uncovered the truth. Used it to level the field. I'd suffered for her pain. A mirror crime. Controversial decision 3. Do I expose it? Tell the world Mom played favorites. Or let the grave keep secrets. I chose silence.
For now.
Power's a drug. I'd tasted it in stolen skin. Months later, the dust settled into a new normal, mine. Reclaimed but scarred. The penthouse? Sold in the divorce settlement. Proceeds split with Jake's alimony tears. I moved into a Tribeca loft. Minimalist and mine. Exposed brick. A wall of law books. A balcony where I smoked menthols at dawn. Watching the Hudson slither like a serpent.
Work?
The firm begged me back. Partner track fast-tracked. But I freelanced instead, consulting on cyber frauds. My experience, a dark credential. Elias? He vanished after the swap. Echo, dismantled. Whispers of him in underground forums peddling, mind vacations to the elite. I didn't chase. Some doors stay cracked for a reason. Emily resurfaced in spring 2027. A ghost at Mom's Memorial Garden in Prospect Park. She'd aged, lines etching her once porcelain face. Bob grown out to shoulders like surrender. No entourage, just her. In jeans and a Barber jacket. Kneeling by the rose bush we'd planted together. I approached slow, heels sinking in mulch. Cease. The word tasted foreign, laced with truce. She looked up, eyes wary but wet. Sophie. The lawyer said you'd come. Truce or trap? We sat on the bench. Azaleas buzzing with bees. The city a distant roar. I remember pieces, she said finally. Voice small. The wedding. The words. Felt like you in my head. The serum hadn't held. Echoes persisted. I nodded.
No denial.
It was me. Echo. Borrowed your life for a weekend. Her laugh was brittle, like autumn leaves. Figures. Always the smart one. No rage. Just weariness. The frame job? Charges dropped. Daddy's influence. Her breakdown plea. But the family fractured. Trust frozen. Jake exiled to Silicon Valley startups. Scraping by. He left me voicemails, she murmured. Saying I wasn't you. That he loved the fighter. Not the copy.
Copy.
The word knifed us both. She'd mimicked my wedding not from malice alone, but envy, a desperate grab at the life Mom scripted for me. The twist hit then, her hand on mine cold, trembling. The will. I found it after. Mom left me everything because
she pitted me.
Said I was too fragile for the world. You? She called you her legacy. Reversal sharp as glass. I'd endured prison thinking I was the spurned foster. But Mom had bet on me, hidden it to spare Emily's ego. Her crime? Not greed, but a daughter's rage at being the weak link. I'd taken the fall for her fragility, a secret chiseled deeper than any vault. We sat in silence. The park's green, a balm on wounds. Why tell me now? I asked. She shrugged, tears carving tracks. Because revenge is a mirror. You wore my skin. I see yours now. The fighter who forgives, or the one who finishes it? Controversial crossroads. I could walk. Let the echoes fade. Build a life untainted. Or twist the knife, leak the codicil, shatter her remnants. I chose the gray. We're both copies.
Eminencia.
Of Mom's ghosts. We hugged then, awkward as exiles. Her perfume still Chanel.
Mine trift store SOAP.
No fairy tale, just two women. Bodies reclaimed, secrets half buried. She left first, silhouette fading into joggers and dogwalkers. I lingered, plucking a rose, thorny, red as regret. That night, alone in the loft, I poured scotch neat, like Jake used to, and scrolled news. Harrington scandal fades. Heiress eyes philanthropy. Emily. pivoting to causes, women's prisons, cyber ethics. Redemption arc. Scripted for Vanity Fair.
Me,
I inked a deal for the book, swapped vows, a tale of betrayal and borrowed lives. No names, but hints sharp enough to cut. The advance bought freedom, a cabin in the Catskills, weekends hiking trails that cleared the mind fog. Twists lingered.
though.
Jake emailed once. From a burner, saw M on TV. She mentioned you, said you saved her. Is it true?
Saved.
The word hung. Debatable. Had I? Or damned us all deeper. I deleted. Unblocked nothing. Power's residue. I controlled the narrative now. The critical element she'd overlooked. Summer brought heat waves and headlines, another Wall Street bust. Echoes of my old cases. Elias surfaced in a tabloid. Mad scientist suicide pact? Found in his lab. Echoes remnants fried. A note about souls too tangled to untie. Guilt pricked. My swap had pushed him over. Controversial end. Savior or catalyst. By fall. Emily called voicemail.
Tentative.
Soft. Dinner? Neutral ground.
No strings.
I stared at the phone. Thumb hovering. Forgiveness? Or final reckoning? The city lights flickered outside. Manhattan's eternal debate. I hit callback.
La Bernardine.
8 sharp. We met under crystal chandeliers. Same table as that doomed lunch. She looked good, poised. Philanthropy glow. Jake? Mentioned in passing. Remarried to a coder in Austin. Vanilla, she said.
Smirking.
No drama. We ordered scallops. Laughed at old sorority stories. Skirted the abyss. Then, over espresso, the codicil. Burn it. Her eyes searched mine. I sipped.
Slow.
Mom's truth dies with us. Truth sealed. Debatable as dawn. Walking out into crisp air. Arms linked like sisters, not bio, not foster, but forged in fire. We hailed separate cabs.
Mine virred uptown. Hers downtown.
In the rear view, her taillights faded, a period on the sentence. But revenge? It never ends clean. In my loft, unpacking mail. A package, no sender. Inside, a USB drive, labeled Echo 2.0. Elias's ghost. Or Emily's. I plugged it in, blue light pulsed. Interface whispering, ready for transference. Temptation coiled. Dark and tense. Who next? The DA who botched my trial? Daddy Harrington. Rotting in his penthouse regret? I powered down. But the hum lingered in my veins. Her echoes in mine. America's underbelly, power swaps hands, bodies and souls alike, leaving us all a little haunted. A happy ending? Tragic? You decide.
Me?
I sleep with one eye open, waiting for the next hook.